Hate is a terrible business model. Two of the WNBA's loudest critics of Caitlin Clark, Sheryl Swoopes and Lexie Brown, just reportedly lost their gig at Underdog Sports. The news is confirmed, and the irony is absolutely delicious. This is the moment the tables finally turned. Do you think this firing is just bad luck? Or is this the universe keeping score? They always tell you that all that hating doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't buy you a new contract. And it certainly doesn't secure your spot on a popular media platform. But man, does it feel good when you see that principle proven in glorious, public fashion. The news is broken, and huge shout out to Livewire Sports and the homie Gilbert Arenas for dropping the bomb, that two of the WNBA's most consistently negative voices regarding Caitlin Clark, Sheryl Swoopes, and Lexie Brown have allegedly been fired from their roles at Underdog Sports. That is some serious, straight-up, undiluted karma, and we need to get into the details of this beautiful, self-inflicted wound. Sheryl Swoopes says she's lighting herself on fire. Steve, they had to pull her off a game because she can't be trusted to call Caitlin Clark games correctly or fairly. They basically pulled her off the game for racism. You're too much of a bigot to call Caitlin Clark games. We're pulling you off the game. For anyone who has been paying attention to the swirling vortex of jealousy and bad takes that defined the last 2 years of women's basketball commentary, the names Sheryl Swoopes and Lexie Brown are going to ring a loud, sour bell. We know them primarily from their time on Gil's Arena, that fantastic platform where they were supposed to be bringing insightful basketball analysis. Instead, for a significant stretch of time, they dedicated an astonishing amount of airtime to fighting against the inevitable, to pushing back against the force of nature that is Caitlin Clark. And now, poof, gone, fired. Gilbert Arenas, the man who runs the whole operation over there, dropped the information. We're talking about an alleged firing, a cutting of the cord by Underdog Sports. And when you look at how Swoopes and Brown were carrying themselves, how they were using a massive platform to spew nothing but bias, jealousy, and flat-out disrespect toward the biggest thing to happen to the WNBA in decades, you have to ask yourself, was this just a cost-cutting measure, or was the hate finally bad for business? I'm leaning heavily toward the latter because negative energy is contagious, and it eventually poisons the well. Think back. You remember all the hate, all the manufactured controversy, all the snide remarks they were kicking on Gil's Arena? This wasn't just analysis, this was personal. It was before Clark even officially began her professional career, and definitely during what everyone now refers to as her first season. They just couldn't stand it. The spotlight was too bright, the money was too big, the attention was too much for someone who hadn't paid her dues the way they felt they had. It was a constant, tiring, and transparent effort to minimize the greatness they saw happening right in front of them. Now, I was wondering, as were many of you, where they had gone. Gil's Arena has seen some changes. Gilbert Arena worked out a deal. The name is shifting a bit. They're doing fewer shows, maybe just 2 a week now. I still enjoy the content, especially the football stuff with Skip Bayless and Talib, but the panel is different. We see the same faces every show now. Kenyon, Brandon Jennings, Rashad, Nick Young. Salute to all those guys, they're doing their thing. But Swoopes and Brown, they just vanished into the ether. I was asking myself, where have they been? And according to Gil, the answer is simple, clean, and poetic. They got let go. Swoopes got the scissors, fired from Underdog Sports. Brown got let go. Which explains why we see Lexie Brown now doing her own thing. Shout out to her Full Circle podcast, no hater over here, you do your thing, build your own platform. But the fact that she's now grinding out her own content after allegedly being let go is just another layer of this beautiful, ironic sandwich. She's out there trying to build what she just lost. And Swoopes? I don't see her anywhere right now. She might be doing her own thing, but she's certainly not on the big stages anymore. And I'm going to keep it all the way real, folks. They were doing too much hating up there anyway. It was constant. It was nasty. It was dripping with a jealousy that you could practically smell through the screen. They were spewing a level of nastiness that went beyond simple basketball disagreement. It felt personal. It felt like they were actively fighting the greatness of Caitlin Clark. Oh, she's not that good. Oh, she hasn't done this. Oh, she needs to prove that. It was a relentless, petty effort to gatekeep a sport that Clark was single-handedly dragging into a new dimension of relevance and profitability. I remember the one time, Lexie Brown actually gave Clark some credit. It was lit in there. And in that moment, seeing the tangible, undeniable impact of Clark's presence, Brown had to finally give it up. She had to admit, yeah, okay, it's like that. Big motion, big motion. But prior to that, it was a wall of negativity. It was a refusal to see the forest for the trees. It was a blind, self-destructive jealousy, and now, look where it landed them. They're not even on the platform anymore. They couldn't keep doing business with that kind of toxic energy. They didn't want to keep flying them in. Now, they have to fend for themselves, which, again, I wish them luck in their future endeavors. But let this be a lesson. The Swoopes situation is even more egregious because she was actually a part of an official WNBA broadcast. During one of the games, a Dallas Wings game if I recall correctly, Swoopes was part of the telecast, and her reporting was so blatantly biased and disrespectful toward Clark that it was a conflict of interest in real time. This wasn't just a former player on a podcast. This was an official voice of the league actively trying to diminish one of the league's players during a broadcast. That kind of behavior, that kind of open bias, it just doesn't fly when the money gets this big, and apparently they ended up firing her from that gig too. So, Swoopes has now allegedly been fired twice for her toxic approach to the Clark phenomenon. That's not a coincidence, that's a resume. The biggest takeaway here, and this is the important part, is the complete disconnect. While Clark is out here selling out every arena, bringing in millions of new viewers, and single-handedly raising the value of every single WNBA franchise and player contract, you have the old guard, the self-proclaimed gatekeepers, actively trying to tear her down. They mistake their own personal feelings for objective analysis. They let their resentment over not being the central figure blind them to the incredible, generational opportunity Clark represents for everyone in their sport. And when you do that, when you choose personal beef over business sense, the business eventually cuts you out. The money follows the momentum, and the momentum is tired of the negativity. Now, let's transition from the firing news, the just desserts that were served, to what's happening in the WNBA right now that is arguably even more chaotic, and frankly, a perfect distraction from the uncomfortable reality that some players are more valuable than others. I'm talking about the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, negotiations, and the growing hostility between the players and the owners. It seems like things are getting nowhere fast. We are heading into a new season, and the players are clearly very, very unhappy. We've seen multiple high-profile players crash out on the owners, like Kelsey Plum speaking out forcefully. This hostility, this constant clashing of heads, is taking center stage, and it's about a few key issues that reveal how deep the resentment goes on both sides. First, let's talk about the complete conflict of interest sitting right at the top. Nneka Ogwumike, the WNBA president, signing that incredibly lucrative deal with Project B. Now, listen, I'm all for players getting their money, securing their bag, and building a future. But when the president of the Players' Union signs a massive multi-year deal with a competing league, a league that is actively seeking to undermine the WNBA's calendar and prioritization rules, that is a massive conflict of interest. She is supposed to be negotiating for the players with the WNBA, but her personal financial interests are now heavily tied to a league that is in direct opposition to the WNBA's core priorities. How is she supposed to negotiate with a clear, unbiased mind when her own pockets are dependent on the WNBA making concessions to overseas and rival leagues? It's a huge problem, and it undermines the very trust the players need to have in their own union leadership. Then you have the issues of team housing and free cars. The owners are reportedly saying, hey, we want to take away these perks, the free cars we give you, the mandatory team housing. And the players, despite some of them making million-dollar contracts now, are speaking out aggressively, saying that housing should be mandatory. They have their reasoning, and I get it. It adds to the stability, especially for players who move around a lot. I agree that for rookies or for replacement players coming in on short-term injury contracts, there should absolutely be some form of housing or financial assistance mandatory. But for veterans on long-term big-money contracts, I can see the owner's side of the argument. They are pouring all this new money into the league, money generated largely by the Clark effect, and they're looking for places to trim expenses that seem unnecessary for highly paid professionals. It's a battle of perception. The players see it as a basic cost of doing business. The owners see it as unnecessary luxury for their highest paid employees. And we are getting nowhere with it. The biggest battleground, however, is prioritization and training camps. This is the direct shot, the nuclear option the owners are reportedly considering, and it's aimed squarely at the overseas leagues and, yes, at Project B. The owners want to start training camps earlier. Much, much earlier. They are talking about having WNBA training camps spill over into the NCAA Women's March Madness tournament. Think about the audacity of that move. It is a direct shot at the players who rely on those lucrative overseas contracts to supplement their WNBA income. The owners are saying, if you want to play for us, you have to be here. You have to prioritize us, and we are going to make it impossible for you to go overseas and then come back right before the season starts. This move is about control. It's about the owners finally asserting that the WNBA, the league they own and are investing heavily in, must be the priority. And by scheduling training camps earlier, potentially overlapping with the massive women's college basketball tournament, they are basically drawing a line in the sand. It forces players to choose. They are trying to cut the financial cord that ties so many WNBA players to overseas money, demanding loyalty in the name of a new era of professionalism and higher domestic salaries. And this battle, this prioritization fight, is what the ladies are going to continue fighting in this new CBA negotiation. Because for many players that overseas money is still necessary, even with the rising WNBA salaries. But the owners are tired of dealing with players showing up late, exhausted, or injured from playing an entire other season abroad. They want their players focused, healthy, and dedicated to the WNBA calendar. So, while we are here celebrating the spectacular, self-inflicted demise of the loudest Caitlin Clark critics, Sheryl Swoopes and Lexie Brown, on the media side, we need to remember the league itself is in the middle of a massive, hostile showdown on the business side. It's chaos on all fronts. Chaos in the media with the firings, and chaos in the boardroom with the CBA. It's a battle for control, for professionalism, and for who gets to define the future of the league. And it's all happening right as the league is finally entering this golden, unprecedented era of popularity, thanks to the very player the fired commentators tried so hard to diminish. The fact that the WNBA's biggest challenges right now are either self-imposed, like the contract disputes, or a direct consequence of past negativity, like the Swoopes, Brown situation, is telling. They are fighting the success, whether it's the owners fighting the players over housing, or the veteran media voices fighting the new wave of talent. The only one not fighting is the one who is supposed to be the cause of all the trouble. Caitlin Clark is just out there playing, drawing the crowds, and making the money for everyone. The universe, I tell you, has a wicked sense of humor. The people who spent 2 years telling the world why Clark wasn't good enough, why she was overrated, why she was a flash in the pan, those are the people who now have to figure out their next move, while Clark's star just keeps getting brighter and the money she brought in keeps fueling the very league they wanted to control. The era of the hater is over. The era of the self-made superstar is here to stay. And the silence from Gil's Arena, where Swoopes and Brown used to sit, is the loudest statement of all. The message is clear. The negative energy you put out always comes back around. It's time to check the scoreboard. Whether it's bad business or true karma, the silence is deafening. Let us know your final thoughts on the firings and the CBA chaos below.